How you guys doing? Welcome in. Bit of a different topic this time around. Although it's been a while since we've done something a little bit creepy, so it's time. Petscop. If you've never heard of Petscop, this is perfect. Welcome in. I can only seem to find Petscop videos on the internet that last from an hour upwards. So I thought, you know what the world needs? A more condensed version of that. Not everyone wants to sit there and watch an hour plus. So I'm going to take the everything you need to know about Petscop, bundle it together, throw it at you, and then if you want a more elaborate video later on, you can always go and watch one of the long form ones. That some of them are like 3 hours, 4 hours. The first time I heard of Petscop was a few years ago from a Pyrocynical video, and it's always fascinated me. So without any further ado, Petscop.
Alright, so this is just to prove to you that I'm not lying about this game that I found.
The first Petscop video appeared on YouTube in March 2017. No announcement, no press release, no fanfare, nothing. Just a quiet upload by a channel simply called Petscop. The video showed gameplay footage of what looked like a forgotten PS1 game, complete with era-accurate graphics and sound design. The player, who calls himself Paul, seems as confused as the viewers. He suggests that he found the disc somewhere in his house, and he starts recording the gameplay to prove to someone that he's not lying about the game that he found. But here's the thing, Petscop isn't just a game that you can download. There's no ROM, no disc image, no cartridge. No one has ever owned a physical copy. There's no record of it in PlayStation archives. No developer credits and no publishing history. Some believed it was an elaborate hoax. Others thought it was an alternate reality game. A horror story told through gameplay. But the more you watch, the more you start to question that theory. Paul narrates his gameplay in a way that feels real.
So there's nothing out here, as far as I've seen. But actually, I think there is something out here. I just haven't seen it yet. I'm a little bewildered, if you want to know the truth. This is a little more than I was expecting to see.
He stumbles over his words, questions what he sees, even gets visibly uncomfortable.
That's a dead kid.
Sometimes he stops talking altogether, like something's wrong, but he can't tell you what. He leaves the sunny, cartoonish world and enters the New Maker plane. An empty void with no music, just wind, concrete walls, darkness, and something watching. From that point forward, Petscop becomes something else. Something haunted. Not just by ghosts, but by memories, by trauma, by something no child was meant to play. Petscop looks like a game, it plays like a game, but something about it always feels off. The early areas lull you into a false sense of security. You chase strange creatures, pets, through a colourful environment, solving puzzles to catch them. It's quirky, slightly broken, feels like a prototype that was never finished. But then it starts to turn. The puzzles stop making sense. Every solution feels wrong. Like you're not solving a puzzle, you're manipulating something. And Paul doesn't know why he's there, he just keeps going. Sometimes the game makes you walk in silence for minutes. Nothing happens, it just lets the silence set in. You start hearing things, wind, distant hums, maybe crying. Characters just randomly appear and you have no idea who they are, where they came from. And you can also ask any question you want to this triangle cone thing, which always leads to very ominous answers. At one point it even references the PlayStation itself. And that's when you realise this game isn't just creepy. It's personal. It knows something you don't, and it's waiting for you to remember. Sometimes the videos start and nothing even happens for the first couple of minutes, almost as if Paul still has to awaken from his slumber. And even the environment changes without warning. The game's logic isn't about progress, it's about pulling you deeper. And worst of all, Paul doesn't seem to be alone. Sometimes someone else is playing, someone who's not Paul. Petscop isn't scary because of jump scares, it's scary because it's quiet. Because it never tells you what's going on. Because the more you watch, the more you feel like you shouldn't. Petscop is terrifying because it feels like it's based on something real. And maybe it is. Throughout the game, names and phrases appear that hint at something deeply disturbing. Care, Tiara, New Maker. It's a reference to Candace Newmaker, a real child who, in 2000, during a so-called rebirthing therapy that was meant to help children with their trauma by bonding with their adoptive parents, but it turned into something else. Candace was wrapped in blankets, told to fight her way out, and you can probably guess the rest. That one word, New Maker, changes how you see everything in Petscop. Suddenly, the empty rooms, the silence, the therapy notes on the walls, they're not game assets, they're memories. Fractured reflections of something that should have stayed buried. The game's world becomes a puzzle box of trauma. Characters like Marvin seem to represent Tiara and Care might represent different identities or different lives. At one point at the end of one of the videos, you even hear the background in Paul's house, as if to remind you that in all this, things are still happening in the real world. And even this, a picture of what seems to resemble a room, with a layout of a bed, chair, PlayStation and piano. Was this Paul's room? Is this where he was playing from? Petscop didn't just stay in its own little cursed world, it spread like a virus. The moment viewers realised the game was fake, but felt real, they started digging, obsessively. Every line of dialogue and every visual glitch, every pause from Paul became a clue. People weren't just watching a game, they were investigating a crime scene. There were rumours Paul was real. Some thought he was in danger, some thought he was Care. Others thought Petscop was a confession tape disguised as gameplay. Viewers went back through the videos, frame by frame, listening to background noises for clues. Was that a car outside? A bird? A voice? Even the way the videos were uploaded felt wrong. Random times, unlisted links, video descriptions changing after they were posted. Sometimes Paul would reference a comment he shouldn't have seen yet. It was like the game was evolving alongside its audience, responding to them while it was watching them.
And I'm trying to think, when was the last time I saw any of you at all? It had to have been like 1999. I was a kid. I was a small kid. Tiny kid. And after that, just, you know, it would make sense in the timeline.
Every new upload felt like a message directly to the people watching. And that created this horrifying question. Was Petscop unfinished because it was still happening? Viewers started blurring the lines between ARG and reality. And Petscop just sat there, silently letting them do it. There were fears that watching the game too closely would suck you in. That decoding the puzzles was like following breadcrumbs into someone else's trauma. Petscop didn't scare you with monsters or blood. It scared you by making you complicit. By making you part of the mystery. If this is all fake, why does it feel so real? The last Petscop video was uploaded in September 2019. Barring the soundtrack video with the secret ending that you will go and have to see yourself. No grand finale and no answers, just silence. And in a weird way, that's the scariest part. To this day, people are still obsessed with Petscop because it felt personal. Petscop tapped into something universal, that weird liminal fear. The idea that childhood isn't always innocent, that behind the bright lights and silly puzzles, there might be something watching you. Last time Paul says anything is episode 22, but seeing as they're technically not released in order, that would make it episode 14, meaning his last words are...
Fuck.
And then Paul stopped talking. No big twist, no closure. Just the same kind of ending you get from real life mysteries. Maybe that's the real genius of Petscop. It was never about solving the mystery. It was about realising some things stay unsolved.
This fucking game.
And the last thing I wanted to talk about, but completely forgot about it on the day, so this is me from the future, hello, are the copycats of Petscop. There's several games / not games that give off that vibe and are very similar. One of the more well-known examples is Valle Verde, an ongoing YouTube ARG that feels like the spiritual cousin of Petscop. Strange environments, cryptic dialogue, and that same haunting, low-budget charm. But where Petscop felt like a lost PS1 game, Valle Verde feels like a fever dream someone recorded onto VHS. And then there's Sad Satan, probably the most infamous creepy game on the internet. It showed up in 2015 on a YouTube channel called Obscure Horror Corner, who claimed they found it on the dark web. The game was just endless dark hallways, disturbing sounds, backwards music, and creepy images popping up at random. Nobody really knows if it was real or a hoax, but like Petscop, it nailed that unsettling vibe of something you were never supposed to find. And of course you can't talk about creepy video game mysteries without my favourite one, Polybius. This one goes all the way back to the early 1980s, supposedly an arcade game that showed up in Portland, Oregon. The legend says it caused players to have seizures, nightmares, even amnesia. And then, just as mysteriously, the cabinets vanished overnight, allegedly taken by Men in Black. There's a few others like Animal Police, Sheriff Domestic, Diminish, or even Catastrophe Crow. But here's the thing, none of these games ever really hit like Petscop did. Sad Satan was creepy, sure, but it didn't really have a storyline to it. It was mostly shock value. Catastrophe Crow came close, but a lot of people saw it as more of a tribute than something mysterious on its own. Petscop just nailed this perfect balance. It felt real, it felt unfinished in all the right ways, and it trusted the audience to dig deeper. It wasn't trying to scare you, it was trying to haunt you. And that is Petscop, a game that doesn't exist, about things that might have happened, played by someone who might not be real, on a channel that hasn't made a sound in years. And yet here we are, still talking about it, still watching, still wondering, because Petscop doesn't haunt you like a typical horror game. It haunts you like a memory you don't remember having. So if you're brave enough, or foolish enough, you can still go down the rabbit hole yourself. The videos are still online. The game's still running. And maybe, just maybe, it's still waiting for you. And that, I think, is enough for you to deep dive the Petscop rabbit hole if you decide to do it. And that said, thank you guys very much for watching. If you made it this far, incredible. I appreciate you so much. If you like this kind of video, maybe I can make more like it, in between other things. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you all in the next one. I love you all. Take care.
Bye 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 bye.
Guys, if we hit 7,000 subscribers, how can I put this?